Van Bergen.
Here.
Leonard.
Here.
Lineham.
Here.
Isaacson.
Here.
Elkin.
Here. Okay, we'll start with public comment. MSA, you want to give us an update on the Keller Avenue project? Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Drew Lind and I work for MSA Professional Services. My role in the project is I'm a construction inspector. Just wanted to share construction updates. As of today, we were kind of finishing building road. Not putting down asphalt, but just building the road, getting it up to grade. Sampson Concrete, they're working on pouring some sidewalks throughout the business district. They'll be continuing doing that through the rest of the week here. On Monday, they will be pouring curb and gutter from Elm Street to Center Street. So continuing with some curb and gutter, more concrete work happening. That's good to hear. Get opening so that businesses can get their front doors open. Then sounds like early June, there might be a binder lift of asphalt that'll get paved might be from Elm Street all the way to the north end of the job here. So, yeah, I just wanted to reiterate also that binder, it will allow local traffic to drive through the street and whatnot, but the road won't be open for just traffic in general. The road will still be closed until September 10th. So any questions? There is one. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Drew.
Thanks, Drew.
And then also it looks like Patty, there's comment in here about Polk County Recycling Center
And the
update.
mayor's going to address that.
Okay.
Couple things. Polk County, at the Polk County level, they received their study back to assess and analyze recycling for Polk County. There's two things that they can do. One is to close and privatize the recycle center, and that's going to cost $26.08 per household. And the second thing they can do is they can invest $1 million and maintain what they have at a cost of $10.59 per household. That is what they've given us. That assumes that if they make it mandatory for everybody to recycle. If they go to privatize and half the people use the recycling service, the double. Now, I don't know if this is on a yearly basis. It's just $26.08 and $10.59. That is on a yearly basis. So you know right now that when they pick up in, let's say, Amory, what did Dick say, you wanted $6-7 a month to pick up recycling? Well, that's a lot more than $10.59 per household per year. So that every household participates. So so things are moving forward there. They don't know what they're having a committee of the whole tonight up Balsam Lake, and this will be discussed. The other thing I was talking about, and should I include it now or at the ATV parking and Catskill Trailhead? But we have some locations for recycling to move them to. You want
Okay, I think let's add them to that discussion.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would like to bring up is Julie. Julie has moved, and we're going to have an opening on our city council to the fact she moved across the street from her district, basically. So, so we have a vacancy in District 2, which is wards 3, 4, and 5. That's south of Elm Street and west of Keller. If anybody is interested, drop a letter of interest off at City Hall. And we're gonna have Julie with us just a short time longer. So, thank you, Julie.
What did you say? I'm sitting on for a short time?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Could you move back?
You say, do you truly, would you be interested in staying on council? Because I'm in your district and
I
I'm
would
at large.
I would be interested in just finishing my term. It's less than a year. It's just a kind of a freaky thing. I had no idea I was on the wrong side of the street.
Now you're on the good side.
I mean, if that's acceptable, but if it's not, I will resign.
And that's what I had for public comment.
Okay, and then Craig had said he wanted some time.
All right, good evening. My name is Craig Olson, and the citizens of Amory are wanting to contribute to the good of the community in many ways: our parks, our recreation, our downtown commerce, and our deep-rooted history. They need a clear roadmap on how to bring ideas to city improvements and promotions to fruition. Far too often have great ideas been met with roadblocks, the lack of knowledge of who to bring them to get the processes started. For example, there are many questions about what is happening with the clock tower. Who is doing the work on it? The biggest, how can the citizens of Amory contribute to its restoration? Have been buzzing around since the disappearance from the sidewalk. In the April 7th City Council meeting, Mayor stated that the clock mechanism was being sent off to a company in St. Paul for restoration. He also asked that if anyone interested in contributing monetarily to the restoration, that it would be greatly appreciated. Since that announcement, the project has taken many turns. Now, in place of qualified clock restoration company, 2 citizens of Amory have begun to do the restoration work. The clock is property of the city of Amory, and it was never discussed openly, not even with city council, just decided on by one person. The mayor stated that he hoped it works for another 10 or 20 years. And I would think that if the work was completed by a professional clock restoration company, that it would last much longer than that and have the possibility for some upgrades, like using lightweight replica hands and possibly even adding a lighted face. There's been a lot of interest in contributing monetarily to the clock's restoration from many citizens of Amory. And the mayor asked for this on April 7th. But somewhere between then and now has decided that he will be the sole benefactor of the project and has turned away many parties interested in contributing to the project. This eagerness by the people of Amory to participate in the historic clock's restoration means a lot. Here we have a great opportunity coming off of quite possibly the most divisive year in history to bring the citizens of Amory together for a common cause to restore the clock tower. I've been asked to redirect my efforts invested in our clock tower to raising money for other things like the Downtown Beautification Committee. I have spoken at length with Jessica on that committee, and she is of the same belief that we can do both things in one concentrated effort. Our new streets deserve new benches, garbage cans, flower planters, and even bike racks. Since there is a lot of concern about the clock tower, let's use this opportunity to bundle fundraising efforts into the clock tower restoration and downtown beautification project. The idea is that the community would financially and emotionally invest in one of our only historic monuments in town in a way that they wouldn't join in and rally around new benches, garbage cans, and flower pots. And in a month where the Free Press headline read, City Council acknowledges community ideas are crucial, it is my hope that the clock tower project be discussed by council as an opportunity to recognize our community's desire to be a part of the Main Street project by being allowed to financially contribute and perhaps even make an unveiling event at Fall Festival. An event where the mayor can unveil the clock with fanfare, barbershop singing, bands playing rousing speeches. Let's use this as a historic opportunity for our town to come together and to literally celebrate this unique place in time and move forward together. Thank you.
Thanks, Craig. Were there any other public comments? Okay, I think we'll move into order number one, or yeah, the item number one, the department heads. City Administrator, Patty.
Good evening, everybody, council, audience. We're in the process of moving purchase furniture from the Bremer Bank building. We will do that after Bremer vacates the building on May 21st. Mayor Paul Isaacson, Ben Jansen, and myself met with Market and Johnson last week. Bids were let. We will have more information at tonight's meeting in that regard. I have done some investigation into leadership training with WITC. We will do the training during department head meetings during Zoom over the course of 7 weeks. Each module will take 2 hours. Fire Chief Kaler will need to participate separately as he teaches during the day. So that's where the Zoom would come in for him. I have been taking training municipal treasurers and will be taking training for the League of Wisconsin Municipalities next month. Still waiting to hear if we will receive grant funding for the EDA application through West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning. I did make contact with Susan Bodke last week, and she still has yet to notify me of what she hears. Working on closing documents for lot sale number 4 of city-owned property. That actually was completed yesterday, so that lot has been sold. After closing, we had almost 17,000. Interviews for full-time officer took place on Monday. They are to replace full-time officer Josh Tyler, who took another job with another department. And I want to sincerely thank Mayor Paul Isaacson for his award for me through the Amory Community Club. I was very humbled. Thank you, Paul. Any questions?
Quick question, lot number 4, can you clarify which lot number, what is lot number 4?
It is right to the west.
So it's the one
It's
across
by
the street.
by the trail.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. Police chief?
Good evening. Just a couple things this evening there, just to expand upon what Patty had mentioned there. Officer Josh Tyler resigned recently, effective May 6th. He accepted a full-time position for the St. Croix Falls Police Department. And Josh served our department for about 2 years, both on a full-time and part-time capacity there. Also, as Patty had mentioned, we had 3 current part-time officers that expressed an interest in her full-time position there. And after conferring with Patty there, it was decided that those candidates should be considered for that position first. And we conducted interviews yesterday, and after completion there, we extended an offer to Paul Hoke for that. And we've used this process in the past there, and we've had great success with that. Plus, it really expedites things. Paul's one that we can put right in there with really no training there. It's like that. Officer Anderson continues to do very well. She's nearing the end of her 2nd phase of her field training. And as I've indicated previously, we're hoping to get her on the road by herself in June. We picked up our new 2021 Dodge Durango today. It'll be ready for striping. I believe that's going to be done on Thursday. So within the next few days, that will be on the road. On a more disappointing note, our 2017 Dodge Ram went down last week with some engine trouble there. It's currently at Berners, but got a call today that it's ready for pickup. I'm hoping that it's still under warranty, but we'll find out tomorrow. You laughed, Tim.
Hey, I've been there, I can laugh.
We've been there twice, yeah.
Yep.
Just under 60,000 miles, and that was similar to our 2015 as well there. Our calls for service continue to keep us busy. Most recently, Public Works has contacted us regarding some damage to the bathrooms at the beaches, at the beach there. And we were able to set up a trail cam there. And within a day, someone had climbed a tree of about 20 feet and attempted to destroy the trail cam. They caused damage to it, tried to take it off, but to no avail there. But we were able to identify the juvenile suspect there, and he admitted to it, and we'll be referring him to Polk County. So hopefully that'll put a little pause in that area over there. Plus, I know at some point we'll be talking about camera systems for the parks and things like that. But that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Your report file that we have on our tablets is in publisher file. We can't open it.
report as,
Amory PD April report.
okay.
Can you save it as a PDF
I
instead?
will talk to Heather. I think that she had sent that down.
Usually it was like a Word file or something, but if she could do it as a PDF,
Yeah.
that would be much better.
I
We
think
can
that-
open the publisher file.
Okay, yeah, I'm not quite sure why that is, but thank you.
Okay, great. Director of Public Works, Jeff?
Good evening. Well, as everybody knows, we've been running around on Main Street, been most of our job. And Drew has just been awesome to work with, makes everything so much easier. The guys got all the water and sewer in that we're gonna do for right now. That has been the main problem, trying to find out where everything goes and what valve works and what one doesn't. We got that handled, so everything should go smooth now, right?
I hear that.
Yeah. The new bathhouse is up in North Park. And everybody seems to like it. It's handicap accessible. We only have the south or the north end open right now, because there's 4 bathrooms. One of the toilets went to crap this winter, so we have to get parts for that already. That should be under warranty. It's got sod and grass seed, so people are more than welcome to use it. It's ready to go. The new jet back truck came, nice piece of equipment, and sorry to say they've had to use that twice in the last 2 days, so that's been going good. They're figuring it out. Like I say, we had a lot of vandalism at the park, so we're busted toilets and sinks and all kinds of good stuff there. And just the regular stuff, crews out patching streets, cleaning up. And one other thing is the sewer plant we're having trouble with. We're having to stick a little more money into that than usual. All these hands cleaners and all this cleaning supplies everybody's using, our plant runs on bugs. So all this stuff is killing our bugs. So we're having to buy bugs to try to keep it up. We're adding hydrogen peroxide and all kinds of different stuff to try to get our DO up because our bugs are just not making it. So, been busy. Any questions?
I want to know, did you take this crew up to all take showers at the new bathhouse?
No, I won't even go there. We didn't. But it's been used.
Has it? Good.
Yeah,
Good.
they've been
Super.
using them.
It looks, yeah, it looks great.
They're really nice.
Super.
Library Director, Amy?
Good evening, council and members of the community. The library's had much going on this last month, but I'd just like to highlight a few of the things we've had going on. The library hosted Third Thursday DIY beeswax wrappers, and there were 50 participants. I was able to attend the WAPL conference from May 4th to May 7th, and that's the Wisconsin Association for Public Libraries. The library hosted Books and Brews on May 6th. There were 12 attendees. The library hosted a Parents Cafe on 5/10/21. There were 4 attendees. The library hosted paper flower kits for ages 2 to 11. There were 30 participants. The library also hosted Tetris magnet craft kits for ages 12 to 18, and there were 18 participants. The Amory Area Public Library had 615 curbside appointments for the month of April. We also had 150 browsing appointments for the month of April, 45 computer appointments, and we circulated 3,341 materials for the month of April. And last evening, the library board elected Ashley Long, who's sitting here, as our new library board president. Any questions?
When do you anticipate opening fully?
Well, we have a service level plan that's on our library website, and it's based on the activity level in Polk County, the COVID activity level. So depending on where the activity level is falling dictates our services. So, any other questions? Okay.
Thank you. All right, we'll move to agenda item number 2, the ordinance for mailboxes, 09/2021. And then we have the housing ordinance as well. Who was planning to talk about these two things?
Jeff had approached me, and he said there's some difficulties with some of the people when they're putting in their mailboxes. They're right on the curb.
Yeah, what we have is everybody wants really nice mailboxes, you know, they look good and it makes your yard look good, but they have them hanging out where the plows, when they go by, are gonna hit them. You know, they're hanging out past the curb, so if we try to plow to the curb, we're gonna hit their mailbox. Then they wanna put these really nice mailboxes up, but we plow snow, If the snow knocks them over or something, they want us to fix it. If we hit it, that's one thing, then we should repair it. But if the snow hits it, it's not really our problem. But I guess that's what the county and townships and everything have kind of gone to. We need to have something specifying exactly what our liability is and what they can do and can't do with their mailboxes. So we don't really have anything that tells us right now.
Okay, so there is no ordinance on mail. This is a fully new ordinance.
Brand new, yep. And I kind of went along what the USPS guidelines are. You know, that talks about the criteria, so I guess. And the cost, you know, if we have to replace it, what the max will pay and those types of things.
Did anyone have any thoughts about that ordinance?
I would guess throughout the winter, you get lots of calls.
Yes.
on-
And we're more than willing to help out, you know, put up temporary ones and stuff, but
Mhm.
some people just get a little too fancy where, I mean, they look nice, but they're a lot of work and, you know, we've had one that got knocked down or we had to sit and try to lay block in the middle of the winter.
Mm.
Cause they had a big brick mailbox and the guy hit it with the snowplow. You know,
And the one guy he did talk to and the guy took it
Yeah.
down.
yeah,
He
it
goes,
was,
yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't know. So then he put it back the way it should be, you know, by the standards and.
Would what's currently there be grandfathered in? While I read this, I don't remember.
There was some of
Thinking
that,
that.
was grandfathering some of those in.
Okay,
And I also drafted a policy too, so we have a policy.
well, and the specifics that are in there, I mean, the things that I was reading, you know, were quite specific. So hearing that you got them from USPS, that makes
USPS.
complete sense.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure where that was coming from, so thank you for clarifying that, so.
And I'm actually gonna put like a diagram in there too, so people can see,
Mhm.
you know, the measurements and so we'll have that on file.
Make a motion to forward ordinance 09-2021 to city council for approval.
I'll second that.
All right, it's been first and seconded. Any discussion?
Yes, a few choices.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it'll be moved on to full council. Let's address the next ordinance then, 10/2021.
Yeah, and Ben, you did the full ordinance here.
Yep, so all this does is it changes our current housing code because we can't require rental licenses anymore. So all this ordinance is our old one with that section deleted.
I have a number of questions or objections to this ordinance. And I didn't go through it with a fine tooth comb, but there are a number of issues that I see. First of all, it appears to me that this ordinance allows the building inspector to go on any basically perceived hunting expedition and enter a private house and for whatever the reason. Several things, and I got a bunch of them listed here and I'll go through, but several reasons for that not happening to a private house include, as far as I'm concerned, and I've voiced that opinion, that on rental units also, you know, who among us have ever had 2-year-olds that didn't try to paint a room with something other than, you know, appropriate materials? Or haven't had bad days for one reason or another. If that happens to be the day that the building inspector is there, there's a lot of latitude there. Then who shows up next? DPS or, you know, somebody with Child Protective Services. What happens if dad comes home from working the night shift and has a doobie before he goes to bed or gets up in the morning?
That's illegal.
It's illegal, but it's not, you know, so who shows up then? The building inspector comes in to look at the house, and then 2 days later, people from the sheriff's office show up. I think that's a tremendous invasion of personal privacy.
I have a question. Isn't this already in effect?
Yeah,
It
this
is.
is.
It is,
Okay,
but
so this whole thing is in effect. If we're gonna change that, then this has to be an entirely different discussion.
exactly what I'm saying. I don't want to approve this until we do those changes. And let me just go down through a couple of them here on page 10, section 7, H. It says, when the service in an existing residential building is changed for any reason, the entire building electrical system shall be brought to the above minimum standards. Minimum replacement service shall be 100 amps. There are any number of homes in Amory that could never meet that particular thing. And nobody would ever get rid of fuses if that meant that they had to go through their entire house to bring their electrical system up to the minimum standard, which is basically an NEC standard. NEC is pretty adamant about what you do, for any new construction. But even the NEC says the building electrical code has to be brought to the standards for the period of time, or the building code that was in effect at the time the house was constructed. So in my case, I live in a 130-year-old house. Don't come to me and talk about electricity, because I didn't have electricity when my house was built, Page 13.
You speak like you were there.
No, I've been in a lot of houses that never would pass this, and with the folks that are trying to upgrade what they can afford, I support that. That's how I make a living, obviously, but.
So these standards, like this standard example, upgrade to 100 amp service, where did that come from?
I have no idea. It's not from the NEC though,
Uniform Building Code?
not UBC. UBC defers
I'm
to
sure it's not
NEC.
just some abstract number that was put out of the air at some time.
I don't know when this was actually put together, but there are obviously some places. Page 13. Let's see, where does it say? Something talks about your yard here, something, and it says something that, I know, I got that. I didn't write where that down, but one of the areas says, there we go. Item 3, debris, all exterior property areas shall be properly maintained, clean, sanitary, yada, yada, yada. All animal feces shall be removed within 24 hours. If I couldn't find 100 houses in Amory that had dog poop older than 24 hours, I just think once again, putting a 24-hour in it it's not practical, and it's pretty much I don't want to have people, with a yard full of dog do either. That's not the point at all. But when you put a 24 hours on it, 16, page 16 talks about basement sleeping areas. And let's see, it says, nobody, basically, I've got to find the right one here, but it says, you can't have a basement window, or basement windows have to be at or above ground level. Many of the houses in Amory have even split levels with egress windows in them that, that's part of UBC that says, I think that says you have the ability to have a below ground window as long as you have it, the egress is available to make that a sleeping room. Screens and storm windows, 16, section 3. Owner of ever shall be responsible for hanging, installation, and maintenance of all screens and double or storm doors and windows, etc. There's a lot of new windows that are triple glazed that don't come with storm windows anymore. Not that you can't get something that fits, but they don't, they're not part of a package anymore, because they're basically not necessary with the high E glass. And 258.8, what was that? I don't, oh yeah, the building inspectors and authorized and empowered to inspect all residential buildings for purpose of determining whether they comply with that. If the building inspector can get an inspection warrant from an appropriate court, which I don't know who that appropriate court would be. But you can't deny the building inspector, the residential bill may not deny the building inspector the right of entry and inspect any portion thereof under control. And that is part of the rental unit, right? Is that the one of those, Ben? Yeah. So that's okay. When if the tenant has said, I think that's worthwhile on the rental unit. Page 19, B, C, and D. When there's a notice, this basically covers a notice of a violation. The building inspector gives a violation. If you don't like it, guess what? You get to go have a meeting with the building inspector and tell him why it's not. It's like, you know, I said you were wrong and now you got to come before me for a hearing and you're still wrong. I think that needs to be addressed. And it's the whole thing says the inspector shall sustain, modify, or withdraw the notice, but it doesn't have to. And that it's like, you don't like what I do, but I'm the final authority, so you got to do it anyway. I think there should be some method. There is a method in another part under G. It says the determinations may be appealed to the zoning board of appeals. How much does it cost to go before zoning board of appeals? $250?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, there's a fee involved with
Yeah,
it.
big fee.
So
It's a big fee.
if the building inspector says you're wrong and you don't like it, pay $250 to zoning board. And then, you know, that's part of the problem that Polk County was in, because they asked about, you know, with their zoning issues. They took the fee for it and then summarily said, no, we're not even going to listen to you. So I think that's something that needs to be done. And then finally on page 27, section B, parent 2. In wet or damp areas, GFI switches shall be installed. That's just an issue. There are no GFI switches that I'm aware of. They're either ground fault breakers, and lighting switches are required to be arc fault. So there are a number of issues this needs to be gone through.
Well, that's good. The one, I just wanted to eliminate the rental fees. That's all I was. looking
Yeah,
for.
the rental fees is fine.
But this whole code, it does need to get looked at, and I'm glad you brought that forward. So let's do that for our homework. And think about what we want to change, make some notes, and we'll bring it back to the committee of the whole next month. If
Good
that's okay
idea.
with everyone.
Do we have any action that we have to do? Is there a time sensitive thing about getting rid of the
We can table
rental
this.
fees?
We can
Okay.
table it, yeah.
All right.
So that would be my suggestion, table it till next month and do some homework. And, I mean, Rick brought up some good points.
Yeah.
Ben, you said that it's no longer required, or it shouldn't be required, so it's really not enforceable, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
It's not. a-
we're okay until we take it out.
I didn't even know the code had that many issues. All I did was find the section with the
Yeah.
red license.
You pulled on the
I'm
string
probably
of the
sure I
sleeve.
read this before at some time in the past,
Yeah, no,
but
that's good
today
that
it
we're
just
talking
stuck out
about
at me.
Things need to be reviewed.
Yeah.
So we'll table that then.
So let's do that.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 3, the ambulance service merger resolution.
One more thing on the code, and Ben gave me that, and I don't, maybe I'm out of order bringing that up about the demolition process.
Yeah.
Is that, since we're talking about building code, is that part of that we could talk about that?
I guess it's just a shed.
Well, I know Mahoney'd be interested in it. And
Is
let
it
me,
something that-
you can decide whether we can act on it or not. Today, we pulled tanks out at the old Cenex at Town Mart. And the long story short of it is the company came and bid and got the job from Eau Claire. The excavator specifically noted in his contract with the co-op, which is out of Mondovi, or was out of Mondovi at that point in time, that removing the cement pad at the bottom of the tanks was not included in his bid. For those of you that don't know, there were 8 tanks down there, 84,000 gallons worth, and they have approximately 100-yard cement pour at the bottom of the tanks, holding them down because it's below water level. Not much right at the moment, but it was significant at the time they were put in. Then they poured another foot of cement over the top of them and blacktop and so on and so forth. Systems worked well for 30 years. It's 31 years that they've been in the ground. So now they come up and take the top off, pull the tanks out, and the excavator says, I'm not taking the cement out. Well, Mr. Mahoney and I both agreed vehemently that that's part of the Amory code. You don't leave cement in the ground, period. One classic example is the church kitty corner across the road that had to remove the entire basement from an old Quonset hut that was there 50 years ago, I guess it was. Yeah. And that was at a cost of 30 grand. In talking with another excavator that bid that job, his bid was about $20,000 higher than the folks that got it because he bid and knew the code was to take the cement out and remove it, and he didn't get the job. So, now Ben, you can chime in.
So Jeff asked us to look for it after Rick called. Patty and I looked high and low through our code for, how long do you think today? 3 hours?
Couple hours, yeah.
There's nothing in there that states that if it's not part of the structure above ground, you have to take it out. So anything underneath like the gas pumps where the canopy is, all those footings have to come out. But not if it wasn't underneath the building of some sort.
So we just need to reword that so it all comes out, because now that big chunk of concrete's there, if anybody wants to do anything, what do you do now? You got this big mound of concrete you have to deal with.
In fairness, it is 12, 13 feet underground. However, that will be of little consolation to the church that paid 30 grand to have their
Or
cement.
something would be built on top of it. I mean,
Yeah,
you still-
removed.
Or run a water line or anything.
And it won't be much consolation to the guy that bid $20,000 because he included, higher because he included that part in his bid. So,
So I'm not understanding. I get that this is for future discussion as part of this ordinance, but if there's nothing in the ordinance, there's no recourse. So I think it is what it is for now, and it's something that we have to think about for the future and how we address it through ordinance, right?
That's exactly what we're looking for. It's
Yeah.
just later on, we're gonna have to do an
Yeah.
ordinance that
More homework.
qualifies. and makes sense.
Yeah.
More homework.
Okay.
And we can draft something.
Okay.
Put that on next month.
Well, why was there the thought that was in the ordinance? I mean,
It-
can you
it
let
is in the,
guidance?
it is in the ordinance. It just doesn't, it was about buildings
They own a
and,
loophole.
yeah, that's basically at a loophole.
Okay.
And that wasn't building.
Yeah, it should say structure
Yeah.
or it's something that covers everything.
The other issue that we have with that is that we have a demolition ordinance and it's pretty specific. I've got the copy right here. It's, basically it gives you a lot of things, a lot of hoops you have to jump through. And I understand the purpose of the ordinance was to solve a tax issue. If you tear down a building and there was taxes due on it, you get a permit so that it can either be added to the tax roll or there's a thing that says if you tear it down and rebuild within a certain amount of time, you get half off or something like that, or you only pay half the permit fee.
All
But
right,
if you-
I'd like to close the
Yeah.
discussion on this and we can work it when that comes forward again. Ambulance service merger. who has some updates about
And
that.
this was brought to me by April. April is.
Nikki.
Nikki, I'm
Nikki,
sorry.
okay.
Nikki, apologize. But this was something that Adam Jarko had put together to see if we're in favor of the northern, or the Amory area EMS and the Northland ambulance to merge. There's been a lot of discussion about it. I know, Eric, you went to one of the last meetings.
So did Tim and Rick.
Eric and Rick and myself went to the
And
meeting
Rick,
up at Broadtime 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, some of that nature. And all this resolution is giving the okay, excuse me, to participate in the further research of a merger between, it's not binding, it's not committal in any way. It's just that we're willing to participate. And I think it's worth the investigation into it. Is there really an upside for the city of Amory? Not really. It could be an upside for the ambulance service because of growth and expansion. But for the city proper, is there going to be a real big upside? Not really. Future, it may fix costs a little bit better, but that's not a guarantee either. So.
Yeah, it's before anything comes before any of the municipalities, there will be bylaws in place. There will be rules as far as how to handle indebtedness and all of those kinds of things that were the real questions. Like how do you fund your service? How do we fund our service? And those are the things that had to be ironed out, but they're looking for, are we on the right track?
Comfort resolution.
And can you support it to the point of letting us continue? And I think that's, like Tim said, there's some upside for Amory, but more.
There's a lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
I think the biggest upside for Amory is the fact that it will be supportive of our Health Partners affiliated hospital in that Health Partners manages the ambulance service now and manages the Northland service. And that's definitely an upside as it relates to patient availability and viability to, for the Health Partners system. I'm not saying it's bad or good. I just, for us, it's supportive of our, second largest employer. So I would move to forward to council resolution 04-2021
To clarify, in support or not?
in support of.
Okay.
And I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, it'll be forwarded on to full council. The next up is the city center project bid results update. Is Market and Johnson on?
They are, yep.
Okay.
Dean and Braxton both are.
Good evening. So I know I sent out cost recap and the bid tab
Barely hear them.
for the project.
Hey,
Would be
Braxton, can you turn your, unmute your mic?
He is unmuted, we just can't hear him.
Any better or is it still muted?
Yeah, is the red light on the speaker on again for some reason?
No, it looks green. to me. Let's see if I can.
You guys hear me though?
And yep.
Perfect, okay. So I know I shared the PDF for the cost recap and the bid tabulation. Is that something that would be helpful for me to share on the screen, or is that something that you guys have in front of you?
We have in front.
Out of it.
Yeah, we have it. It was also included in the packet, so anyone else online can look at it online as well.
Okay, sounds good. So I guess just to give a overview of where we're sitting with the budget, we're at about bids came in at $3,636,466 for the total project. So we're sitting about 3.5% over budget compared to our design development, which, given material prices and, where we're sitting with all the inflation and whatnot, I think is actually pretty healthy compared to, what's out there. But what I'll do is I'll just read through the work categories on the cost recap, on exactly who the bidder was and what the total came in, and then we can, I'll open it up for any questions with the group. And then after that, we did come up with a few items for some VE items, which is value engineering, that we came up with a few items there to try and save some costs, but it really comes down to what the group wants to do and what they want in their project. But right now what we have is the project as we had it designed, and if we want to pull back a little bit on scope, we can as well. But I'll just read through the work categories, and then if anybody has any questions during it, feel free to stop me. But starting with final cleaning, we had an allowance in there of 7,500. Moving down to cast in place concrete, bidder or low bidder was Market and Johnson on that one, $115,051. Moving down to unit masonry, that was Market and Johnson again at $133,195. Structural steel install was Modern Crane Service at $43,600. Structural steel supply was at $69,000, and that was Nick's Welding and Fabrications. Moving down to building works, that was Market and Johnson again there at $263,310. Moving to finished carpentry, $105,900 for Northern Woodwork. Air barriers was $9,950. That's Eau Claire Insulation. Membrane roofing, $118,000. That was Jackson Associates. Moving to joint sealants, that's $13,000, and that was the Caulkers. Doors and frames supply is Kendall at $59,130. And moving down to sectional overhead doors at $58,000 was, jumped to the line there. $19,298 was overhead door Chippewa Valley. Moving to glazing was Top Light at $58,000. Louvered equipment enclosures was $2,968 from Airline Louvers. Gypsum board assemblies, $213,100. Low bidder was Pinnacle for that one. Tiling was at $14,750 with Superior Tile and Terrazzo. Ceilings was $93,540, and that was Twin City Acoustics. Flooring, which was $104,485, was Grazzini Brothers. And down to painting, I was at $128,835. That was Swanson and Youngdale as the low bidder. Specialties was $22,055 for Bartley to supply that. Signage, we ended up not getting any bids, so we had a $4,000 allowance in there for the project budget. Operable partitions came in at $15,229 with JWC. Lockers, we didn't get any bids on that one as well, so we're sitting at about $5,000 allowance. Moving into awnings, bid came in from D8 Products at $7,277. Window treatments, $4,428 from Commercial Shade and Blind. Fire suppression, Nassif Mechanical at $89,445. For the plumbing and HVAC, it ended up being a combined bid that was low from KBK, plumbing and HVAC at $774,000 even. Electrical, Neo at $375,000. Earthwork at $42,500 with Gilly Trucking and Excavating. And then lastly of the work categories is asphalt paving. There's $11,300 with Monarch Paving. I'll bring the work categories to $2,922,846. And then we had general conditions, builder's risk, payment of performance bond, contractors insurance, builder's inspections, testing and inspections, and then general requirements. bringing the total there to $3,183,341. Construction contingency, estimated design contingency went away. Now that we're out of the design phase, this is what we're submitting as the GMP. Construction contingency, we moved down to about 4% to fit with the budget, which we'd like to keep all that there. And then an allowance for a book drop at $5,000 for the library, bringing our subtotal with contingencies at $3,315,675. Then our fixed construction management services at 2.5%. That is at $82,892. And then heirs was fixed fee at 7% of the bid total is $237,900, bringing us back to that total I shared of $3,636,466. So I attached the bid tabulation as well. That way everyone can see where all the numbers came in. I guess I'll go over the value engineered options here shortly with the group. I'm assuming, I guess you guys want me to probably go over that with this committee or this council or the next one?
Probably, I mean, we're all here, so we might as well do it in this one.
Yep, nope, that's fine. Just want to make sure we're in the right meeting. So might actually, you guys mind if I share my screen for the valued engineered?
Yeah,
I think-
that'd be great,
Go ahead.
because we don't have a copy of it, I don't think. And I do have questions based on what you talked about too, so I wanna.
Yeah, I guess we can start there. And some of it might lead into, what I'm gonna present next, but yeah, I'll open it up for questions to start.
Okay, so my questions were about the 3 items that you listed that were Market and Johnson 1, which is a little over $500,000. And it looks like there was no other bids for that. Was that because it didn't go out for more bids, or was it, how does that happen?
Yeah, so Market and Johnson does self-perform concrete masonry, carpentry, and we actually put a bid in for 4 of the categories, which is cast in place concrete unit masonry, building works, and then the gypsum board assemblies. Pinnacle ended up being low for the gypsum board assemblies. I think we had about 4 bids there. And then as far as bid invites, we do send them out through all the builders exchanges. So people have an ability to do that. We send out through a smart bid software to a few other contractors that we could definitely get you a list of. Otherwise, it was also in the Amory paper as well for people to bid on. So it is a public bid, and we did submit, I guess, our number around noon Wednesday to Patty and the mayor as well, giving it about 2-hour difference for anyone else that wanted to submit. And I guess I think since we self-perform, it's sometimes hard for people to bid against us because they don't understand the process as well. But we did try, I guess, everything possible to get as many bids as we could for those categories.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to clarify for transparency, because that's a lot of money, and let's stuff the ballot here, but it doesn't appear that that's what's happening. And then the book drop, is that an installed one, or is it one that is outside the standalone? Because there's already a book drop at the library, so I was wondering why that wouldn't get moved, but maybe that's in the weeds, but it was just one thing that I thought.
Yeah, I know that was brought up by the group just, to see where the budget was at, if there was something they could add. And we kind of tossed around a few different options, and we came up with a $5,000 allowance for that. And that's one of the VE items that I was going to bring up too. Identifying if there is an existing book drop that we could just move over and not have to, worry about purchasing a new one.
Okay.
How much of a necessity it really is.
Yeah, sure.
So the book drop that's there, it's an outside book drop, so that's what it is, and the one we have is broken. It was repaired at some point in time, I know before, but it was never repaired properly and it leaks.
Okay.
So that's why that's in there.
Okay. Thank you. Helps clarify. Good. I didn't have any more questions.
I have a
so-
question under your work categories.
Yep.
The bid column and the variance column has all the same entries, but the totals are different.
Yeah, for the, I guess all the zeros is what you're looking at.
I'm looking at the bid and the variance. The columns are the same numbers.
Yeah, so, and that was partially due to, so the last budget that we came up with the design development was based off of a divisional breakdown, so your concrete, your masonry, your steel. And I guess the way we broke it up into work categories was actually going through the entire project, specs and plans, and assigning certain pieces to certain work categories to make sure we have full scope coverage. So it's hard to get an exact comparison that's not skewed in the variance. So I think just focusing on the subtotal of the work categories is the biggest thing there. But if there are certain questions on, you know, electrical or HVAC, I can get you those details as well.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, maybe if you want to go on to your next piece that you wanted to talk about.
Okay. Yeah, can everybody see this all right? I can zoom in a little bit too. So what we did, knowing that we're a little bit over budget, we wanted to present a few options to the group and see, you know, if there's certain areas we want to cut back on scope or move from the project or try and get closer to the original, you know, design development budget that we had. In the end, it's going to, I guess, be up to the group on what that threshold is and price you want to be at. And if some of these things are just important and you want to keep in, but we're just trying to, I guess, come up with some ideas to get closer to that desired number. So the first one is change furnaces and condensing units to 2-speed with SEER 16 in lieu of the 20 SEER with variable speed. And I guess these first three are from KBK Services, the HVAC contractor that we'd be looking to work with. That was the low bidder. They were all reviewed with airs and they had no problems with these switches. So I feel like the number one and then number two is change exterior duct to Thermoduct Pro R in lieu of lined duct on rooftop unit 3 and 4. And I don't know if anybody's going to have a big opinion on either of those, knowing that Apex is fine moving forward with those. But I guess the spreadsheet I have labeled here, we got about 14 different items that we can go over. And what I can do is just hit, you know, yes, no, maybe on them, just track them as we go. And then that'll automatically, so if we hit yes here, calculate up here to the current value of, you know, the accepted items. So yeah, go ahead.
You go from the 2-speed SEER 16 or in place of the 20 SEER or the 20 SEER with variable speed. What's the difference in operating cost per year? Did they ever figure that out? I mean, do you think we'll get that back over 10 years?
I guess I can't give you the exact answer on that. I'm not an expert. I don't think it's going to be a huge difference, but I can definitely, you know, look into that. And some of these we can decide on a later date. You know, we can get some, I guess, dates of what the cutoff would be. And I guess I can follow up on some of that information. But if it's something that I guess the group is thinking would be desired, I can start looking into that.
Now, when they have the duct there, is that how much it's insulated? Is that what that is? Is less insulation versus more insulation?
Yeah, so I think it's basically they'd be, if I'm reading it right, would be wrapping the duct rather than having the insulation within the duct itself. So I think it's just a different way to insulate it. But I can double check on that one as well.
So as we're going through, you want us to decide yes or no on these, is what you're asking? Yes, no, maybe.
you want more information, I can get that as well, but. I guess start
I
with-
can't see the screen, but how, how much is the difference in cost between that 20 SEER and
2,500.
2,500.
Because variable speed controls are, you know, they can get to be a maintenance issue that, that 2-speed is not.
Is this part of what we ran into with the community center too, because we've got a variable speed and had to dump a ton of money into
Oh,
the
they're,
HVAC?
yeah, they're terrible if you gotta fix them.
So what's the consensus from the?
Well, I'd like to see the operating costs in number 1, but the rest of it, yes and yes for 2 and 3, I would think.
What are 2 and 3? We can't see it over here.
Oh, change exterior duct to Thermoduct Pro R in lieu of line duct. So one's wrapped on the exterior of the duct and one's interior. And then number 3 is insulator offered a combined duct to do both plumbing and HVAC contracts. So the insulator, that's the, he's not only doing walls and ceilings, he's doing ducts and.
Yeah, so I guess, yeah, item number 3, since KBK did a combined number, they had obviously the plumbing side of it, the HVAC, and then a combined number. And for their insulator to do both of them, they offered a $2,000 credit. So I feel like that one's probably a little more obvious that we'd like to accept that, but just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, I personally think if you want to insulate on the outside of those ducts, you can actually repair them or do something with them. If it's the inside, you got to tear things all apart in order to, and you can't tell what's growing in them either.
That's true.
Yeah, and like I said, I can get a little more information on those to the group as well. And I can basically throw them as a yes, no, or maybe. And if it's a maybe, we can address a date of when we want to make that decision.
Sounds like number 1, it's a maybe if we want to know operating costs. And number 2 and 3, did I hear
2
yeses
and 3
for
are
those?
yeses.
Yeah.
What is, to be fair to the process, what do you need for dates for these to be firm?
Well, I'll follow up with KBK and just talk about operating costs. I think, you know, the goal of today is to establish a GMP so we can get, you know, amendment signed and get moving with the overall project. Because I know, I think Bremer's out by the end of this week. So really, we can start construction and get guys demoing early June. So I think the important part is just identifying the overall number. And some of these items, 2,500, we can always deduct as the project, you know, let's say we establish a GMP and then the project gets started and you're like, oh, we want to go forward with this. Well, then we can just deduct it from their contract, just move it to contingency until basically the end of the project. And then anything we don't use in that contingency just goes right back to the owner in that. But if it's something that we can get a quick turnaround as well, we can do it prior to the amendment.
With what you just said, then are we better off now saying, because otherwise we're gonna have to wait for another meeting, which is 2 weeks from now. Do we say yes to this, knowing that we can move it to a contingency?
Well, I'm wondering about that one, if they have to order equipment, that's the only one that looks like you'd have to order equipment and it might slow it down.
Yeah.
That's for the variable control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the other ones are insulation, so.
This is Dean from Market and Johnson. I don't think 2 weeks on ordering that equipment would be a big deal. We obviously don't want to wait 2 months because lead times for everything are going out there. But I definitely think we can get you more information and address that one in 2 weeks.
Okay. I think that's what we wanted to know. We don't want to slow things up.
Okay, should we keep moving on to 4?
So item number 4, the specs and drawings called for the mortar of the new addition to be colored. So the masons ended up offering a $1,500 deduct if we ended up not doing colored mortar and just went with the standard gray. So I guess that was an option for the group to consider. And Jody, I guess, I don't know if you're on, but I can't remember what the exact color is right now or the mortar that was selected, or if it just hasn't been yet, but
Where is the colored mortar located?
it would be basically the new police garage addition. So it is the mortar between the brick of the exterior veneer.
Is it to match something that's already there on the current building?
I think it's more the color of brick to make sure that it gives the architect a little more flexibility on, the color of brick, and getting the exact, I guess, look they're going for.
And Paul and I looked at the brick.
So we should probably leave
We
that
should
in.
probably leave that.
Okay. All right, the next item I had was remove the awning from the project. This is going on a new addition. I think it's the west entry for accessing, I think the police garage and stairwell. So there's a prefabricated awning that gets mounted to the side of the building. And that comes at $7,277.
Can that be added later?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
The reason we put that on the list is it showed up really late in the project and it never was in any budgets that we did. So we just wanted to point out, here's something that showed up late in the design, never was in any budgets. We're not for it or against it, it's just something to throw out there. But yes, those that hang on the side of the building could be added later. If we're getting down the road on the project and the contingency is hanging well, we could add it back in.
The awning for who comes through that door? Is it if people aren't coming through the garage? So the PD, if they're not coming through the garage.
Yep, so it's right on it'd be on the north side. If you look at the drawings, it sits right there, and that's the doorway, and it's got the awning over the top. So when they walk in, they're protected from.
You ain't gonna have many people walk through that door if they can drive into the garage, do you think, Tom?
No.
I think it's just for aesthetics more than.
I'm thinking, isn't that the entrance on the west side there where we'd go in there, plus anybody who parks in that other parking lot would go in there too?
Yeah,
I
it's on
would
the
say
west side of the building.
specifically a police entrance
Yeah.
there. I mean,
Yeah.
yes, we go in that entrance way and we can go one way to the garage or upstairs there, but I think you can go straight there too to either go to the library or
Is that a
City
public
Hall there.
entrance or is that a?
Because I thought the police station entrance, public entrance is on the north side of the building.
Yeah, I don't think the one on the west is public.
That's for the police.
Right.
Right.
I say we
That's just
put
for
it,
you.
I say we remove it, and if we are finding in,
the west.
I'd say remove it because I just bought
Okay.
a couple of awnings and it didn't come close to that.
Yeah. $7,000 is a lot of money for it.
Right.
But the west one could be used for other employees coming in, because it goes both ways, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
Okay, I'll mark it yes for now. Like Dean said, if we get towards the end of the project and contingencies looking healthy, we can always add it back in. Sides. All right, remove window treatments from the project. I believe we're reusing majority that are there, but I think there are a few areas that they ended up adding some window treatments to the project. So which window treatments are just blinds and shades. Came at
Can
4,000.
we stop the side conversation, please?
Using that entrance there.
Sorry, just a minute. Can we stop the side conversation, please, so we can hear what's happening here? Thank you.
Now,
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess I was just saying, remove window treatments from the project. We're reusing a lot of the window treatments, but there were a few windows that they were adding blinds and shades too. So that was at 4,428.
Now, does that, is that separate from the police department? Because I don't think we want to remove those, do we? Tom?
I know there's like a vinyl film on the window that's different, that's being provided by the glazing contractor, so that's still included.
We also talked about room darkening or whatever upstairs and on the west side of the building there, that to me would be imperative there, that the officers don't become sitting ducks in the middle of the night there when the lights are on there. So I don't know if that's part of that $4,000 or not there, but
I say we just leave it in then.
Well, why don't we put maybe, and then he can get back to us, because that's not a big item. See what it includes.
What does it include?
Yeah.
You have a plan, Braxton, that you know what, do you know what windows these are?
It's room, let's see. Yeah, they're all second floor rooms. It's 220, 221, 222, and 209. So it's the chief's office,
yeah.
conference room.
Yeah, leave them in.
Okay, sounds good. All right, next one is remove mechanical screen on the roof. On the new addition, there are some new rooftop units going up there. So they ended up having, or Ayers ended up putting a mechanical screen to block them as an eyesore from the public. That came at $6,899 that we could remove from the project if you're not concerned of the way I guess it looks.
Tallest building in town, I don't care what it looks like from the top.
Yep.
I agree.
The only place that could high rise.
Right.
Yeah, yes.
And take that out.
I guess.
All right, otherwise, moving down to, like we were talking about earlier, remove book drop allowance. We were gonna see if you had an existing one that could be reused or get the group's thought on that one.
Well, if it leaks and it's wrecking books, then we need to probably keep it.
Don't
And
you
right
think
now-
we could have Jeff and the city crew look at it to see if it's fixable?
It's been repaired once before,
Okay.
apparently, and the problem is right now, it sits under an overhang. So it's somewhat protected, and where it's gonna be located now, there will be no overhang over it, so there will be no protection for it.
Is there not some kind of a drop point on the building now? I don't know, I'm just asking.
There is by the
Yeah.
south entrance.
The south
That's where they do the
entrance.
night deposit in the building,
That's
But
where the
that's-
police garage is going.
but that's not library, so.
So there is nothing on the north side. I don't,
On the south side there is, but not
Okay.
on the north.
I would just add to most of our recent library clients, even like co-ops and that, have gone away from drops in the building because you never know what someone might drop into your building that might go bang. So most of them have gone away from any kind of into the building drops.
makes sense.
I would be for keeping it in there. Is that a general consensus from?
Yeah, that's,
All right, moving down to rebid roofing. So we only got one roofing number for the project. which looking at it, it seemed higher than what we expected, and only having one number to compare to, it was suggested that we rebid that work category. If we come to an agreement tonight on what the budget looks like and we want to move forward with the project, rebidding the roofing isn't going to slow us down at all because we got time until, I guess, we need them on site. So that was an option where we think we could probably squeeze 30 grand out of it, just based off of a budget number we're working on with a different contractor. But either way, just wanted to, I guess, bring that up to the group and see if everyone's good moving forward with that one.
I think we should rebid it.
Yes.
All right, next one was, this one's probably not as easy, but in the design phase, we did add about 4 feet to the west side of the police garage, which eventually got, I guess, dispersed throughout looking at the drawings, but we had about, estimated about $25,000 add for that. And we wanted to make sure that the group still wants to move forward with the size of the garage right now.
This one
Yeah,
already.
yeah, I keep it.
All right, so otherwise painting, we kind of ran in the same scenario where we only got one number. So we were looking to rebid that one as well. There's possible savings there. It was hard to put a figure on it with how much patching there is around and wallpaper and all the different finishes, but we'd like to rebid that one as well to see if we can save a little bit of money there.
Yep.
That'd be
128 grand seems like a lot of paint.
That number did include taping, so either way, we'll get it rebid out and try and get that to be as cost effective as possible. There's a lot of subcontractors that were procrastinating on bidding this job, and they just ran out of time. So I think we can get a little more attendance now that they've seen the project. Next one was remove sections of casework. I guess through design, there was a lot of casework added to the project, just based off of the DD groups that AIRS hosted. So that is an area that we could cut back a percentage on, or I think our number for casework came in at 105,900. That includes the display cases down here that I've labeled as well. But
For case.
if that is an option, we could look into, I guess, what areas we would want to cut out, or if the group wants to keep.
Is this like molding casing or is this like?
So yeah, it'd be like cupboards, countertops, taller cabinets for storage. And it did include the display cases on first floor on the hallway as well.
This is all the cabinetry that the user groups wanted. And no, I don't know if you remember way back, we talked about, wants and needs. And so, we are a little over budget. We don't know if you want to go back to the user groups and say, okay, we got the price tag for what you wanted. Are we going to pay that, or do we need to scale back? That's kind of, I guess, up to you whether we're going to throw that back to those user groups to scale back. An idea we had was the casework, amount of casework, so this would be a scope issue. This really isn't a value engineering per se. It would be taking, casework out of the project to try and get, if we feel like we need to get the cost down.
I guess yeah, go ahead.
If you want them to have everything that they asked for, then we can just forget that one.
So my perspective, I think, is every month that we're not in that building is costing us more money. So if we're negotiating to save $10,000 and it's going to cost us $20,000 to have to stay in our current location longer, it's not worth it. So I guess I would go for not removing the casework.
We'll come back. It wouldn't come back. I mean, you.
No, it would be so hard to break out what it is.
Right.
I don't want that, I don't want to be in that meeting.
Right, so let's just go with it.
Why?
Well, and the odds are if you rebid it today, it would come in at 125,000.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah.
This is one of those, it would be really hard to piecemeal it out. So,
Yeah.
no.
I guess I did provide, one of those items, just removing the display cases, which saved about $8,000 on that one, but I know.
I don't think we should remove the display cases either.
No.
I agree.
Okay, sounds good. All right, otherwise, remove operable wall was the other one that we thought of. I know that was more of a security issue than anything, with just trying to, the DS there for the council, just securing off that and all the AV equipment. But we wanted to make sure that was still desired, depending on, if we're trying to drive the price down, just trying to get, I guess, creative with some ideas.
That's a yes. No.
The removal, the operable wall, there's electronics and things that's protecting, or is it a table with chairs that it's protecting? What is it protecting?
The sanctity.
So, yeah, I guess if anyone else wants to go, but basically, like the desk you're sitting at right now, it's casework or a DS that is on one side of the room, and then rather than having like two separate meeting rooms, the group decided to come together into one meeting room, but they were worried about, if that's a public room, people are going to be coming in, and then you're worried about all your DS or I guess any AV equipment, speakers that you have. Just created a secure way to block that off so people or the public can still utilize that room.
Okay. Then I say we don't remove it. Not that I can say these are just my opinions, so others, if you disagree, please.
That was a very
say.
important part,
Yes.
to have that divider in there. That's it takes it, from the court and from the city council chambers.
I feel very strongly that should stay.
Okay. Otherwise, I was going to leave it open, I guess, to the group a little bit too, if anyone else has any ideas on areas that they'd be comfortable removing items. That's kind of the list of 14 items we had. The current value with this, I guess, estimated value of $30,000, 49,176 that would come out of the current estimate that we submitted with the cost recap, as well as our fee and the 4% contingency is figured off that as well. So this number might go up a little bit further than that, but that would bring our quick math, but that would probably bring us around 3,586,000, about 860,000. Sorry, 3,586,000. Yeah. So, which I can resubmit to the group as well.
And are we taking that out, or are we putting that in the contingency? Or because there's other things that aren't accounted for, the electronics, the low voltage, all those other things, so.
Right, and I guess, I know we have, at the bottom of the cost recap or owner items, and I know the voice and data or access control and surveillance is in the owner's item, but obviously those things are going to need to be, like you said, added to the project, so.
Yeah, on second thought, I think we should take it out of contingency, so we're not paying 11% fees. So let's take it out. Let's not put it in contingency.
Okay.
You don't
Again,
pay.
Sorry?
You don't pay fee on contingency. One thing you should note is that we did share these numbers with heirs, and they told us, and you can check it, but their contract is their fee is figured on the bid day total, not any engineering that's done after. So you won't save heirs 7% fee on any items that come out of our contract. Just wanted to point that out. You obviously you know, if the contingency doesn't get spent, we don't charge fee on that either as far as Market and Johnson. So if we get to the end of the project and there's still $100,000 in the contingency, we don't charge you a fee on that 100,000. We just do a contract change, take it off our contract, and that's how that'll work at the end. So don't pay fees on that.
Okay. Do we have more?
What do you want the contract to be? I know, you know, we were shooting for that at 3.5 million in construction. We're a hair over that. You know, we've had some extreme inflation. We've had material shortages. We've had contractors that are just plain busy right now. And all of that is kind of driving things up. I mean, we feel pretty good about where we are right now. It's just a matter of if you want to be over that 3.5, or if that was a hard, if 3.5 is a hard number, we are going to have to go into scope, into casework, into all that kind of stuff. If you're fine being a little over that where we are, then you know, we're in good shape.
Okay. So what action do we need to take out of this meeting, Patty?
If you're fine with that final number, and you can bring it forward to special counsel.
Special counsel.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then special counsel can decide what they want to do with that.
So what did the final number, have you been keeping a running total? What did the final number come out to be?
3,586,000.
3,586?
And that's just over 86,000 over the 3.5.
About as close as you get on any kind of a bid, I think.
Especially with inflation, like you were saying. Cost of lumber. What were you saying, Jeff, for a 2x4?
Like $12.
$12 for a 2x4.
$76 for a sheet of plywood right now, half inch.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion, I guess, to forward it to special council meeting for tonight.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Should, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, I'll move on to special counsel. And was that the last thing? Oh, no, we've got two more things.
Oh, yes.
We're behind.
Yeah, that took some time.
All right, number 5, ATV parking in the Cattail Trailhead.
Been working with Polk County Recreation, and they just haven't been very easy to work with. But I showed Jeff what we'd like to do, and I didn't make any for Jeff here, but that's that idea we had. Okay. To get extra ATV parking, it would be to go east on Center Street at the corner, and where it says 2010080600001, that's the right of way of the city street going forward. So I figured, if you look, I made some parking spots for ATV trailers to pull in, so they can pull out and back up there. And if you notice in the parking lot, I made them way too big. Way too wide. You could probably get double that. I think we counted, we could get double that when we walked it off, and still have plenty of room for backing up and pulling out. So, because it's a mess down there on the weekends. So then at the last city council meeting, we asked for ideas of where to move the recycling boxes. So I had Taylor today in the office come up with with this GIS picture, and she copied that picture, and we made the pictures the same scale, and she put the recycling boxes in the Amory Community Center parking lot. I just would throw that kind of idea, and that would open up all that for ATV and a nice trailhead for the Catfield Trail, and get the recycling away from the river. So this was just an idea I threw out there, and just wonder what everybody thinks. I would say if Polk County would agree to something like that, we could, they could come down here and do all the labor, and we could supply some crushed gravel for them. Would that be acceptable for them? And get them off Ron's property and out of our parking lots, parking kitty wampus all over. It's just an idea. As far as moving the recycling bins, I don't know if you get, I just did this afternoon to show you what it looks like. And there's 6 of them there. And so I just leaving it open for discussion.
I have a question about the trailer parking, trailer and truck parking. So the traffic flow is they pull in and then they have to back all the way back out? Because that's probably not what's going to happen unless there's a barrier in front of that. They're going to drive around the bathroom and come around the other side.
That could be. I just put this together this afternoon. And there would be room for that also. Okay.
And I'm just saying that if that, we probably should just plan for that to happen.
Okay.
Otherwise that'll all be tore up and then we'll be fixing that too.
So, yeah, and it does make, we don't want them backing out onto the, we'll see what they have to say.
And that would extend more or less off from Center Street with the gravel driveway and the parking.
Right.
Right.
With a barrier before the walking trail or something.
I was at the Polk County Parks and Trails Advisory Group meeting last night, of which I'm a member. And they talked about everything motorized and nothing non-motorized up there, except for horses. They want to convert Summers Lake recreational area up an I to horse camping area park, which is pretty interesting.
That's a pretty good idea, actually, to come from the county. I drive by that many times, and there's nobody parked there, period. So
right,
kudos to them.
And now they're locking it out so they'll be available to make trails for horses. The problem is with Polk County is their budget for parks and trails next year is $137,000, which what our bathhouse cost for North Park. So, and I don't know what our total parks and rec budget is for the city of Amory, but they really don't have any money, and they're not putting any money into parks and rec over the next.
Which seems kind of strange because a lot of money comes into the county because of parks and trails.
Yes, so
it's pretty short-sighted.
Yes, and I tried to say that, and I brought this up again last night, and Ben has been here, the guy, and I talked it over with it, but I'll bring this up to him and see if he can make this happen, because where it says apparent overlap there, that's where they park their snow machine leveler.
The trail groomer.
Yeah, trail groomer. So there's plenty of room to do that and get some vehicles in there and make the ATVers happy and make it would just help.
I think I would give the TVers a vote of confidence that the city of Amory really don't hate them.
That's right.
You know, that's a good idea.
Yeah, we actually want them here.
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
One question on the moving the recycling receptacles. Do you not, I think they pick them up from the front end like a garbage dumpster. So
I know,
those have to,
I told Taylor just to put them on there.
they
So
have to be in at an angle, otherwise they'll
Yeah.
never be able to get in and out of them.
Well, they're configured right now in like an L shape, I
L-shape,
guess you'd say.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why you couldn't do it here. Since it was mentioned at the last meeting, I have driven by a number of times and actually pay attention to it. What I would think, something that I think that we need to consider, however, is that is a very residential area. And I wonder if we would be able to put up some sort of signage or enforce, only use during X hours of the day, so people aren't dumping in the middle of the night.
That
That's
would be,
That's
that
my
takes
thought as a
offense.
residence.
I think that would.
Well,
take
I
that's,
think-
that's what
I
they're doing
think
down
there is a
here,
fence.
in the back part,
I actually
yes,
think there is a
Right,
fence
But I
there.
mean, it would take offense on
on the south side.
the south side too.
Sure, but I think
Yeah,
it's
no, I'm
something
not
that
saying
we
it's
should
not a
maybe
bad thing.
consider.
It's just, and then I don't remember what's on the west side, directly off the parking lot, but are there trees?
There's fence
I think
there
there's a
now.
fence there.
Trees and the fence.
Trees,
Yeah, there is
yeah,
a
so
fence.
there's some kind of a screen there on the south side, it's street.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's a spot.
So we're looking for a formal action then to be able to move forward with this,
Now,
right?
does the county care if we move these?
No, this is to continue discussion with the plan,
Right.
that's all. But, as far as,
Still working on ahead, right?
hmm?
Nothing's happening right now, just.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. Because they have to be on board and they have to agree to do the labor and bring their equipment down here and.
Plus, I think it would be wise for us to reach out to the board of the community center to
Yes, oh, yeah, yes.
build a bridge there in consensus.
But I think we should do something down there and something has to be done. And I just trying to come, this is just one idea, so. Give everybody else something to think about. And,
Okay, I guess it sounds like continue the discussion, I guess.
okay.
Right? I don't think we need a formal
Yeah.
vote for that.
Lays
right?
out better
We
than I
just table
thought
it.
it would.
All right, the next item is number 6, clock tower restoration.
And I brought this up to put it on the agenda. Going back, and as Craig said, back on April 7th, after the meeting, I went home and I told my wife that, I offered to collect money because my wife and I have already decided to donate the cost of the clock tower restoration to, that we would pay for it. As mayor, I've been here, in business here 40 years, and we thought it'd be a good thing to do. I don't get a tax deduction off it because I don't make enough money to use the standard deduction. But I went home, I said, I threw it out there, honey, that we're gonna take donations to help us with the clock tower. And she told me, she says, no, we're paying for it all. So set that forward. Everybody that called the radio station, sent me an email, talked to me on the street. I told everybody that it's taken care of. I don't think I used any other words. I said, it's all taken care of. If I need your help, I'll get back to you. I think I got most of these names written down at home that offered. I do. So, and what is being proposed is, we took it down, looked at it all over, and I can pass this down. But the clock is one face, one piece. You can pick it up, it weighs about 30 pounds. This is the original that was put up. But actually, the original clock was put up in 1918 by W.W. Winchester as a advertising for his business. In 1943, he redid it because the mechanical 8-day clock mechanism, I would assume, wore out because he was the clockmaker. And in 1943, this is a picture of it in 1943 right here from when they put it up. And that's the same face that's on it right now, and it's electric. So in 1943, he took the mechanical part of it out and replaced it with the electric clock. Well, this company's still in business right now, and they will recreate this exactly. So all we have to do is get it, drill the holes around the outside where the holes are, All the screw holes are threaded and ready to be used. Screw the face up there, run the wires down, add LED lighting, photo sensor, and a mechanism at the bottom that comes with it to set the time from the bottom. So you don't have to get up there and turn the levers. And it's exactly by the same company that did it in 1943. So we brought the city, took it down, brought the clock tower down to Josh Miller sandblasting down in Forest, Wisconsin. Josh just did a 1929 fuselage for an airplane for me that is very soft steel metal that I tried 4 times to strip it with paint stripper and I couldn't get it off. I brought it down there. He stripped it, he sandblasted it correctly, and it was beautiful when he got done. You can tell he sandblasted and he painted it, and he does wonderful work. I asked him about cast iron. He says, Paul, I know exactly what to do. We do cast iron here all the time. He sends stuff around the world to be done. So the clock tower's in good hands. My wife and I would like to get the go ahead to move forward on this, to go forward. Would you like Roman numerals put on it? Because they do make them with Roman numerals, or I guess that's about all I have to say. Everything is pretty much planned out and ready to go. I just need to say the word and pick the font, and it can be done. So.
What is the name of the company? You didn't mention that, but you're ordering it from?
Electric Time Company.
Okay, thank you.
The lady I'm talking to is Martina. And they do this, well, they did it in 1943. She has records from when they did it in 1995, I think, the last time they sandblasted it in place and replaced one side of it. That's why both sides are different. But as you can see from the pictures from 1943, it is the same face that's been there and done since 1943.
Where is it going back up, Paul?
Exactly the same place. It might be 6 inches closer to the building because it's in a boulevard, and our engineer will put it exactly where it was because we have it all measured out. And but he would like to see it just like 6 inches closer to the building to so it looks aesthetic.
Aesthetics.
Yes.
That's all you can say about it.
Yep. So.
Sounds like a very generous offer, Paul, and you've done your research on it.
I have.
I would say go ahead.
I agree, except make it look like it did in 1943.
Okay, yep, we can do that.
Keep it as original as.
As original can be.
I agree.
I think the important thing too is, as Craig was saying, it needs, let's create some fanfare around it. Let's create some excitement, and I mean, it'll be the unveiling of almost the first new thing on Main Street and revitalized. I did like Craig's idea of how do we generate, is there a way that we can use this to generate additional funds for beautification of Main Street? And marry them together instead of keeping them 100% separate. But and I get that personally you want to give to that clock tower, but it's also another mechanism to raise additional funds on top of clock tower as a impetus, I think, for
everybody thinking about redoing Sioux Lane Park. Maybe that get a bunch of different ideas on what people want for that.
We've struggled with this beautification idea for several years, and I know Jessica's been very, very frustrated at times with the process.
And me.
Yeah. Oh, yes, she has. But it seems that we need to have somebody that, or an organization, or a group, or a committee, or something that takes control of this and applies the proper process to it. The proper process is not, hey, this is our idea and we plop a bench in there. A bench on a main street has to be a specific design, specific bench. Not to take away from the aesthetic look, but it needs to be something that can be bolted down, probably something that can be removed for snow time of year. Something that is not a hazard to the community, because I'm sure nobody would like a nice bench in through their front window. That stuff kind of happens. We definitely don't want it to be obstructing vehicles. So I mean, there's a lot of other factors other than the way it looks and the type of material it is that need to be taken into consideration, longevity of the equipment. But we need somebody or a committee or something to take control of that. Now, as far as Sioux Line Park goes, that has been something that the beautification committee has been pushing, but there is no money for it. Now, in the budget, there was 20,000 set aside for it. I don't know whatever happened to that money. Was it ever allocated for it? Was it taken away?
Expenditure restraint program. We had to get down to a level and the auditor took that out for that reason.
Okay. So let's come up with, let somebody take, if you ask city council to, what do you want Sioux Line Park to look like? You're going to get 7 different opinions because we all have a different opinion and it's hard enough for us to agree on anything.
Right.
That's why we need somebody to come to us with options. Here's option 1, 2, and 3. Here's the cost. Here's what it looks like. Here's who's going to do the work. This is how it's going to be funded, et cetera, and have all this stuff laid out. Just don't come to committee with, or come to the committee or come to the board or the council with well, we want to do this.
Have a
There's
plan.
more to it. From us, we need to be able to say yes or no. We're not in the park design business. We're not in the beautification business. We need somebody to organize that for us if that's a drive. So if the citizens of Amory, and I'm assuming that this is a group of some sort, or are you just speaking in general for the citizens?
I spoke at length with Jessica yesterday,
Mhm.
and she said that, I had $20,000 now, poof, it's gone.
Mhm.
It would be great if we could marry the desire for everyone in Amory. There's so many people that want to contribute to the clock project because that's the cool historical piece. Nobody wants to give $100 to buy a trash can drive. So, but we have these great big huge bump outs now that could have a garbage can, a bench, any number of things, planters, or combinations thereof, and being able to utilize the clock as a way to raise funds would get us there a lot quicker than if we go, we're buying benches and garbage cans. Let's do some fundraising for that.
Well, maybe,
And not to take anything away from the mayor, it's a terribly generous offer. We don't even know what the total cost is. And I see it being able to, you could still write the check for the whole amount, whatever the final cost is, but let's utilize the clock as a way to raise more money. I mean, how many phone calls would it take to get $10,000 real quick? Probably not too many from the response that you've had
and maybe if you want to expand it, it's not just the clock, but, look at it as reopening downtown Amory.
Well, and that's
And
why I was
that's
like,
that's kind of the bigger picture. It's not just a clock. It's all of the things you mentioned.
yes.
And all of those things are kind of a facelift for the whole downtown. That's the program to push, not
Yep.
just the clock.
Well, and that's where I was talking with Jessica yesterday about having, and just what Tim said, is have a plan. Here's the bench that we like. Here's the bike rack that we like. Package it all together, bring all the costs and say, we need, 8 benches and 12 garbage cans. I don't know what the numbers are, but like I said, we have these great big bump outs on all the corners now that would be fantastic to have something.
I think
nice
those are gonna be
looking there
limited as what
instead
you
of-
can put out there. I don't think they'll
Right.
let you put things up for
They
viewing
probably do planters. They probably would
low,
do,
if they're low enough. So, yeah, there's
Right.
gonna be restrictions.
yeah, because it is also a state highway. Those are other factors we
Yes.
need to take in consideration. I'm all for planters. I'm all for garbage cans. The next part of that is, okay, who's gonna maintain the planters? And there's several ways you can do it. It's just, we gotta figure out how we're going to do it.
The whole.
Just don't put them out there and say, okay, because flowers don't magically appear. And now you got one or two people, you know, because like me, who pull weeds. But you got one or two people that are maintaining these, and that's a lot of work. I mean, is it going to be city crew's job? I mean, we need to work these details out and have them very specific before we can move forward on certain things.
Mahoney's got flower power.
So, I mean,
Well,
we,
and here's the thing, if it is gonna be city crew that is going to take care of these, now he needs to work that into his staffing plan. He needs to work that into his normal everyday operations.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? You know, does he have to hire
Raise the budget.
a crew just to do that? You know, those are all things we need to
So
figure out.
sounds to me like we have to clarify what the roles and responsibilities of the beautification committee are, and does that require an expansion of what their responsibilities are? As far as the place to go if you want to make change or beautify.
And
the
it
city.
seems like we got people who want to participate in the beautification committee now. So let's refer this back to them. You've got, what do you
People
say?
want to buy benches all the time, you know, for a
Yeah.
loved one or something.
Mhm.
So,
you know.
so let's come up with a design of a bench, and I'm sure businesses would put one in front of their business, but we need to make them all look the same. We can't have, you know, and they all, again, need to have a specific design to them too. So let's send this back to, my suggestion is gonna be send this back to beautification committee, have them, put them on the agenda for next month for the committee of the whole, come back with an idea of what they wanna do, benches, planters, garbage cans, rough idea on what they are, if you have a rough idea of the dollar amounts and that sort of thing too. And just start working through this planning process on how we're gonna take care of all these fine details.
Something else that has popped up into my mind is I think we need to have some guidance in the city ordinances as far as what can be put on the sidewalks and what cannot be put on the sidewalks and space, et cetera. And not that I want to give myself another meeting, however, the facade committee does also, because I'm on it, does play a role in color schemes and allow, you know, guidance and variances as far as fences in the city and that type of thing. And again, not that I want to give myself another meeting, but possibly that group should be involved as well.
So perhaps mayor can facilitate making those things happen. And
Well, then I'm gonna go ahead and order the 2 clock mechanisms and move forward on that because it's 12 weeks out. And I'll get that part of it taken care of, and the rest of it we'll work out from there, but I'll take care of the clock part.